Once again, welcome everybody to this great Monday morning. Nice weather out. It's probably going to be a little cloudy, but nonetheless, the temperature is going to be fairly nice. And again, like I always say, welcome everybody to another Monday morning, and welcome to another installment of the SportsRap podcast right here on Heat100Radio.com. You can also get us on TuneIn. Just go there and search Heat 100 Radio. You can get there and get us there. Also, you know where I'm at, like I just mentioned. Facebook, SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page there where I'm live, and I'm also simultaneously live on Instagram at SportsRap_D. So whatever's your twist, you can get there, check me out. Also, on both of those, if you want to call and tap in and get in on the conversation, get in on the dialogue, 215-287-1672. And again, like we always do, we got to make sure we set the rules and set everything straight. IG, just tap in and I'll wave at you and let you know. And like I said, what I'll do is I'll try and keep up, get everybody's tags down so I can shout everybody out like I always do, and then give them a more proper shout out at the end of the show, at the end of the day. Also on Facebook, when you know what to do on Facebook, when you put in your comments, please add your name in the comments so I know who you are. So again, I can acknowledge you there as well. So we know last night was the NBA All-Star Game. We will definitely talk about that. Some record-setting All-Star Game last night. What else do I want to give y'all today? Of course, we're going to talk about some Eagle stuff because we know the offseason is here. It's upon us. And what better time than the present? No need to put it off. We already know, we established back last week that some things will change. We already know that. We already know of the things that have changed. So we'll talk a little bit about that later on down the road. Like I said, we'll talk about the NBA All-Star weekend. And yesterday's game. I also want to talk a little bit about an article that I saw, and it's in regards to the Kevin Durant trade. Deanna, my lady, my homie, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in and tapping in early this morning. Appreciate you. What did I say? Where was I at? The Kevin Durant and trade is something that I wanted to talk about as well, and I will definitely get to that when I get there. But he opens up. Actually, this is where I'm at. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm great, D. I'm glad you tuned in. Can't wait for the next fight. So I know Mighty attacked me in, but just make sure I stay in the loop and get all the info on the next fight so I can be there. Appreciate you. He opens up, Kevin Durant I'm referring to again right now, he opens up about his decision, his most recent decision to request that trade from the Brooklyn Nets, and they facilitated that trade. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I know you all are probably tired of hearing about it. I'm definitely sure you are. But I found this article interesting. And again, it's a Ben Simmons topic. But the article was interesting to me because some of the things in the article are a lot of things that I kind of hinted at or maybe even mentioned way back when, in a time span of once he got traded up until the time where he actually started to play some minutes for Brooklyn. But we'll talk about that later on down the line. But as always, you know what we do. News, updates. Not too many scores yesterday. It seems like things are slowing down again. Like I said, it's no football for right now. We did have XFL over the weekend. I neglected to get those scores for you. So next week, I'm going to put week one of the XFL on my back. I failed to give you that information, but I will definitely make sure that I bring you all the XFL next weekend when I come back next Monday. So, and if you remember and you chime in on this video or whatever, or you see me, just tap in and remind me. Always helps, but I'll make sure that I remember to bring the XFL stuff to you next week. So we go with some news and some updates. Derek Carr, recently released by the Las Vegas Raiders, is set to visit the New York Jets. Saints running back Alvin Kamara and 4 others are indicted in a battery charge. When I look at these types of news lines and headlines, and I see it says Saints running back Alvin Kamara and 4 others. Leads me to believe that he's one of the few players that reach that level that can't completely, I'll say, let go. And what I mean by that is when you reach a certain point in your life, okay, whether it's at that level of being a high-profile professional athlete or not, but more likely than not, there comes a point in your life where some people that you are associated with, you can either no longer be associated with them, or you can be limitedly associated with them. And what I mean by that is you have that option. You can either cut them off completely, if that's what you choose to do, or you can strategize and put limits on your association with them. Perfect example of this situation here. Saints running back Alvin Kamara. We know, everybody knows Saints running back Alvin Kamara. 4 others. And it just says 4 others. So that leads me to believe that, like we like to say, these 4 other people are just like average Joes, or probably some people that he knows from a long time, or has known for a long time, rather. No issues with that as well. But this is what I mean. Certain situations at the level that you are, sometimes you have to disassociate. And like I said, it either has to be a complete disassociation, or it has to be a limited disassociation. You make the choice, but it has to happen. And it has to happen all the time. And it's not necessarily just in this realm when you're a high-profile athlete, like I just mentioned. It could be in regular, everyday life as well. Adam Silver says that the NBA disciplines refs for missed calls. So I think this is coming up in the comparison. You know, we had all the talk about the calls in the Super Bowl, and then we had last week also, we had that little day or two thing with LeBron, and some calls got missed. So it's a little bit of comparison, but I think Adam Silver jumped right in, and he immediately said that, like I said, they discipline refs for missed calls. NFL Films caught clear video of controversial Super Bowl penalty. Well, good to put that out now a week later. There's not really much you can do about that now. The game is over. Trophy's been awarded. They've had a parade, yada, yada, yada. We've moved on to the offseason. The Eagles have made some moves, like I'm going to talk about a little bit later. The Chiefs have even made some moves. So, again, like I mentioned, things are going to change. It changes a lot. And it typically happens the most, or the teams that usually get hit the hardest are the teams that like get to that NFC or that conference championship, and then the 2 that progress on to the Super Bowl. So like those 4 teams are like the teams that really, really, in my opinion, seem to take a bigger hit than other teams. If they have, like, other teams are going to have success, yes. But when you get to that level, you have like the most success for that particular season, and teams are going to see that, and teams are going to look at that, and then you're going to get hit arguably the hardest in that situation. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Sources say that Ime Udoka is finally no longer employed by the Celtics. The Arizona Cardinals plan to part ways with defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, who is on the list to be interviewed, I believe, still for the Eagles' defensive coordinator job. The Phillies signed left-handed pitcher Jose Alvarado to a 3-year extension. They also signed Sir Anthony Dominguez to a 2-year extension. Just the other day, I saw a tweet. Anthony Davis and LeBron are reportedly somewhat at odds over some trade conversations, where LeBron apparently, allegedly, had voiced his opinion about AD being involved in some trades. But you know, it is what it is. We know how that plays out. And I've said since 2 seasons ago, possibly, that the Lakers would possibly have to trade AD. They did make some moves this year. Maybe would help them, but like where they are, they're 13th. So they really have to quickly evaluate what they have. The players that were traded to them have to quickly adjust, and they got to fight their way to get in. And at this point, they're basically fighting to get into the play-in tournament, let alone just the record, because they're not going to make the top 6. Because it's 7, 8, 9, and 10 that make the play-in tournament, but they're not going to make 6. So we'll see what happens with them. Mac McClung wins the 2023 Slam Dunk Contest. Shortly after that, he earns a shoe deal with Puma. We're going to talk a little bit about Mac McClung in the second half of the show as well. Kevin Love is expected to talk to the Sixers, among other teams, and I just saw reports yesterday, I believe, that he is going to sign with the Miami Heat. Brittany Griner and the Mercury have agreed to re-sign her for a 1-year deal. Rex Ryan interviews for the Denver Broncos defensive coordinator vacancy. Former NFL defensive back Eric Johnson is charged with human trafficking. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wins the longest ever Daytona 500 in double overtime. Russell Westbrook, as early as this morning, reports are out that he is reported to sign with the Clippers once his buyout is complete. Also, Eric Bieniemy has set and signed a deal to become the Washington Commanders' offensive coordinator and assistant head coach. I am definitely going to get into that a little bit because I'm still confused as to how that. Some things that I saw, some notes that I had that made it a little bit, for lack of a better word, understanding. Or let me change that. I'm not going to say for lack of a better word. I'll say it this way. I understand the situation after I read a little bit further into it, but I'll explain all that to you in just a little bit. Lastly, before I continue on, I want to give my condolences to the Fitzgerald family. That's the family of Temple University officer Chris Fitzgerald, who was shot and killed in the line of duty just the other day. So again, rest well, young soldier. Condolences out to his family. May you find peace somehow, some way in this whole devastating situation. God bless you. Scores. NHL scores yesterday. The Blues fall to the Senators 7-2. Predators fall to the Wild 4-3. The Avalanche just get by the Oilers 6-5. The Maple Leafs fall to the Blackhawks 5-3. The Devils double up on the Jets 4-2. And the Blue Jackets fall in a close one to the Coyotes 3-2. In the NBA, of course, we had the All-Star game yesterday. Team Giannis finally gets a win over Team LeBron, 184-175. And also during All-Star weekend, shout-outs to the NBA for continuing this, also for bringing it in first and then continuing this. The HBCU Classic this year featured Grambling State versus Southern. Grambling State takes that game 69-64. That game is usually played, I think, on the Friday night. I'll double check for you, but again, when it comes up again, I'll show you. Like I did post it all, but I think that game ends up being played on the Friday night, I believe, during All-Star weekend. So here we are. We are live, like I said again. SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page on Facebook. At SportsRap_D on Instagram. Got one person tuned in, Deanna. My girl, my homie, she's tuned in on IG. And again, if I didn't hear me say I'm great, it's a great Monday morning, if you will. Moving into, like I said, we're going to get into this All-Star game. And there were some changes, for the last 4 or 5 years now. They've been making the highest vote getter in each conference the captain of a team. So it's still like you vote for the Eastern Conference players and the Western Conference players. So what they do is the highest vote getter in each conference becomes the captain of each team. Then they have a starters pool. And the fans vote for the starters and the coaches usually vote for the reserves. This year the fans did a lousy job. I have to say that this year the fans did a lousy job. He ultimately got into the starting lineup due to injury. But in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, and a lot of players' opinions, Joel Embiid should have been a starter in that starters pool from day one. I don't understand it, but nonetheless, he ended up being a starter because of injury. But whatever. So then they began having a draft, and what they were doing, where they would have the draft, where it would just be the two captains, and they would be talking to Ernie and Chuck and the other guys, Ernie, Chuck, Shaq, and Kenny. They would be drafting, and they would list the names on the board. The players wouldn't actually be there; they would just be getting picked. This year, they made it very, very interesting. They took it back to the sandlot, if you will. They took it back to the playground. They did it live on stage, an hour approximately before the actual game, and they picked the players then. So the players are there when they get picked. They did the reserves first, and then they doubled back and did the pool of starters. And again, the way they do the All-Star game, like now, like I said, you have an East captain and you have a West captain, but they're not necessarily East and West teams because the players get picked. So you could play for either whoever picks you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the player of your conference that picks you. So they mix it up, which I thought was a good thing a while back. But now it's like I said, I really like the idea of them picking the players right before the game. I got one person tuned in on Facebook. Not sure who it is. Just chime in real quick and let me know who you are, so I can give you your proper shout outs. So, they also added some things in the last couple of years. They added the Elam ending into the game, which is a page out of the basketball tournaments book. They also have charities, and they break the game down into quarters. Okay, so each quarter, whatever team wins the quarter, that assigned charity gets some charity money. It's a nice little bit of money too. And that goes on every quarter. So in essence, in every quarter of the All-Star game now, they start the game over, and if you will. They continue to keep the running score. As you saw, I told you what the score was. But they start at each quarter at 0. Since it's televised, and they now have that Elam ending, the fourth quarter is usually televised without any commercial breaks, which I think is great. And you may ask how EA Fish, my guy Sean, thanks for tuning in, good brother on IG. Appreciate you, homie. You wonder, and you look at the score, and some people might say, well, damn. Like I said, but, it's the basic All-Star game thing that what we do. They don't play a lot of defense in that. And what they also do is they put up a lot of shots. It was an enormous amount of three-pointers launched yesterday. And I mean ridiculous distances, if you will. Records were set last night. The most recent record for points in an All-Star game was 52, held by Anthony Davis, which was broken by 3 points yesterday by Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum racked up 55, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds last night. And you wonder, okay, run away with the All-Star, with the MVP. There was a stretch in that third quarter, and even early in the fourth quarter, where there was arguably a battle between 4 players. There was Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell, who were on the same team. And then emerging was Kyrie Irving and Joel Embiid, who are also on Team LeBron, on teammates on it. So you got 4 people that, for a good little stretch, arguably were back and forth going, seeing if who could outdo who for MVP. Ultimately, we saw what happened. Jason Tatum ends up winning the MVP, and he outscored everybody. But just to give you some note and the scores of the other game, some of the other players, and this is how we know these guys were out there having fun. I mean, you saw it; they were out there having fun, and we see that there was like defense was like, okay, whatever. Like I said, Jason Tatum with the 55, 10, and 6. Donovan Mitchell, his teammate last night, 40, 10, and 4. Jaylen Brown on the opposite team, 35, 14, and 5 assists. Joel Hines Embiid, 32.6 rebounds, 4 assists. Kyrie Irving, also 32 points, 15 assists, and 7 rebounds. And I threw Dame in here, 26 points, 4 rebounds, 3 steals. Threw him in there with the 26 because he hit the game winner. So, Dame hit the game winner. So I threw him in there, like I said, as another member in that grant. But you looked at, like I said, you got 30, 30, 30 plus 30 plus 3 times. You got a 40, and then you got the ultimate 55. So, you know, it's crazy how that game played out, you know, and the scoring, like I said, it was a ton of three-pointers shot and made last night. The Team LeBron made a little push, or tried to make a little push down the end, but again, too much Jason Tatum at the end of that game. Backtracking a little bit, and again, folks, if you got anything you want to say about the All-Star game, like I said, you can chime in again. I got 2 people with me on, or 2 people with me on Facebook, and I need to get you guys in, and you let me know who you are, so I can get to your proper acknowledgement. Saturday night, All-Star weekend. Like I usually never go back to Friday night, but Saturday night is the big night for me. Aside from the actual game on Sunday, you got the skills challenge, the 3-point contest, and the dunk contest. Skills challenge changed up a little bit. There were 3 teams: Team Antetokounmpo, Team Jazz, and then there was Team Rookies. Team Jazz takes the skills challenge and wins that. 3-point contest, Dame Lillard wins that over Buddy Hield in the finals. Dunk contest. Do I really need to say anything about the dunk contest? We have talked for so long about these changes that they've made after they brought the dunk contest back. Because, you know, they took it away for a while, and then they brought it back with all these kooky rules and all this other nonsense. I think this past weekend, in a lot of ways, the dunk contest was reinvented. I also feel like this young man made the best of his opportunity, humbled, and took full-on advantage of the opportunity presented to him. Speaking of newly signed on a 2-way contract, Sixer, Mac McClung from VA. Played at Georgetown and forget what other school he played at, but I know he played at Georgetown and he played at another school. He's played just a little bit of his history, okay, and how he won, like I said, you know, he won the dunk contest. And he won it in an amazing show. Like, he broke the internet with his performance. So just a little bit on his history and him winning the dunk contest. He's the first player with the fewest games played in the NBA to win the dunk contest. He's only played in 2 NBA games in his career so far, 2. The previous youngest was Kobe, and at that point, Kobe had played in 29. So that's a major, major feat. He played in 2 NBA games. He's the second player, 6'2" or shorter, with 350s in a single dunk contest joining only Spud Webb. And we knew what Spud Webb did. He's the first Sixer to win a dunk contest. And I know people are probably going to say, oh, well, Doc was in it. But ultimately, unfortunately, and I don't like it either, Doc lost to Larry Nance. And then we had Andre Iguodala in it, and he got robbed as well. So, shout-outs, congratulations to Mac McClung. Like I said, the new Sixer winning the dunk contest. Like I said, putting on the show. Playing for the Delaware Bluecoats prior to being brought up or called up to the Sixers. And I was just down there last Saturday, and or was it Friday? Whatever day it was, I was down there last week and watched them play against the Wisconsin Herd. He dropped a 40 burger on him, and then Jaden Springer dropped like a 30 piece on him. But you know, one of those things is crazy because he has done this for a long time now. And it's weird to understand how he has played out and how it has played out for him. So, folks, real quick, I'm going to take a quick break and fix some things up here. I'm a little technical difficulties with my video here. So you know where I'm at SportsRap_D. I'll be right back there in a minute. Facebook, I'm going to come back. SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page. Stay tuned, folks. I'm going to be right back in just a second. So sit tight. Your boy, I'll be back on the other side in just a minute. Welcome back. We're going to continue. We're going to get back into some more of this NBA All-Star Talk. Again, you know where I'm at, and I know y'all home, so y'all can tune in. Facebook, SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page. Instagram, @SportsRap_D. I'm there. Again, Heat100Radio.com, or tune in. You can just search Heat 100 Radio and you can hear my voice. But if you want some visual, you know what to do to get on the visual. So let's get back to talking about the All-Star Saturday night and our guy, Mac McClung, who is now all the abuzz most recently. Aside from Jason Tatum setting the record yesterday, last night, I can easily sit here and say that I believe that if you talk to anyone about this All-Star weekend, one of the things that will be at the top of, mixed in the top of, or if not the top on their list, would be Saturday night's dunk contest. Again, like I mentioned to you real quickly earlier, I feel like now, and a lot of other people in that realm that were there, feel like the dunk contest may have been revived a bit. Trey Murphy and Mac McClung put on an amazing show. But again, Mac McClung stole the show. And you know, it's really good that he did. And like I said, he's the new Sixer. So we know what that brings, and we know how that attempt is going to be. So again, some people were talking this morning, I heard on the radio, oh, well, will he get any minutes with this really good Sixers team? We don't know yet. But I will say this. As I mentioned before I went on break, I witnessed him in the G League, and I know some people are going to say, oh, but it's the G League. It's not the... I get it. It's basketball, though. And G League, NBA, high school, college, when you know, understand, and have somewhat of a feel for the game, a love and affinity for the game, you can pick out and you can see when you see somebody and you can say, oh, yeah, he's a ball player. I saw the kid play. And again, like I said, it was in the G League. But again, you take the names away and you just look at basketball. The kid can play basketball. Like I said, I forget the other school he was at, but I know he was at Georgetown. If anybody that's tuned in can remember the other school, just chime in real quick and let me know. I don't remember what the other school was, but I know he did play at Georgetown. He also mentioned that Allen Iverson was his idol, and he's also from Virginia. And he parlayed his winning the dunk contest into shortly after that receiving a shoe contract from Puma, a brand who is making a reintroduction into the basketball world. They have some pretty good names on their roster so far. I think most notably LaMelo Ball, but now they have Mac McClung. And listen, I'm not saying that he's going to come and get on the Sixers and take minutes away from this person or whatever. I will say, as far as him as a basketball player, once he gets somewhat of a grasp on the offense, there may be some minutes for him. Like I said, we know the situation with Furkan Korkmaz. It is what it is. Possibly now, my guy, my cousin, Charlie, Jen, what's going on, homie? Thanks for tuning in. So, like I said, it's going to take something, right? So, he could possibly get some minutes. And like I said, we know the situation with Korkmaz. Somebody just chimed in with an okay and a praying hands on Facebook. Let me know who you are so I can give you a shout out. There's one person on Facebook. Just type your name and let me know who you are. He could possibly get, like I said, we know the situation with Korkmaz who asked for the trade. Nothing happened. So he's arguably going to be pushed down the bench. Whatever. If Mac McClung can come in here and do some things, impress in some practices, he can get that position, and they could possibly waive Korkmaz or buy Korkmaz out and let him go on and do whatever he wants to do, whatever. I like his style of play. Like I said, he can shoot the three ball. He can create his own shot. He can score off the dribble. He can play off the ball. And I just missed who that was that just chimed in and let me know. So let me know again real quick. I'm running my mouth as always, so I missed it. Aggressive, can create his own shot, can get his own shot off the dribble, can shoot the three, can play off the ball, moves well without the ball. So, it could be some minutes to be had down the stretch come playoff time. But again, I think that comes, okay, Rich, thanks for tuning in, Lou. I feel like he has to impress in practices. He has to impress the coaches. And then they also have to figure out lineups, partners for him, who he can play with. And I think they can figure it out. I think they will figure it out. But again, it may or may not be some minutes there. But again, we'll see what happens. But again, like I said, over the weekend, he definitely made a name for himself. He took full advantage of the opportunity that was presented to him. I think he was the first G League player invited to the dunk contest. He took full advantage of it, folks. Like I said, he was virtually an unknown. Nobody knew what to expect. Nobody knew what they were getting into. Everybody was just there. And with everything in his power, he performed for us in a way that a lot of us will not forget. Again, kudos to him. I think he did revamp the dunk contest. Again, he got those 350s. And as I'm watching it, before I saw the scores on his last dunk, when I saw the last dunk, I immediately, it's over. Just like he did. And, Kenny Smith, a little bitter, if you will, He brought up Vince Carter, but he kind of did the same thing. When Vince Carter did his, he said it's over. Mac McClung did the same thing, and then I felt the same way. Like, it was over when he did that last dunk. It was over. And then you go back and you think about the other dunks that he did, and he's got the hops, and he finished the dunks. Like, there weren't any questions about it being a dunk or what they've been calling dunks to throw in where you don't touch the rim. He finished all of his dunks. So, yeah, I think the dunk contest is revamped. And I think we owe that to Mac McClung. So, shout outs to him. Like I said, new Sixer. NBA doesn't resume, I think, until Thursday. So, we'll get to that next week. Doc Howie, my guy, all the way from Minnie. Thanks for tuning in, good brother. Pleasure to have you tuned in. Pleasure talking to you. So, with that being said, I want to just switch up pace a little bit. I'm going to stay NBA. And what I want to bring to you now is what I mentioned to you earlier. And we all know, let's see, Charles said, Howie, I'm good, brother, I'm good. Charles said, yeah, he did good and all, but the dunk contest still stinks. Yeah, I mean, Jen, I talked about that the whole time. Like, I hate the fact that these dudes get like 2, 3, 4 attempts to make a dunk. And I think that's what slightly shocked a lot of people with Mac McClung, where, again, like I said, you get these guys that try to come up with these creative dunks. They can't get them the first 2 or 3 times, and they continue to get them. And then they get crappy scores, and they wonder how they got crappy scores. You did a weak dunk. Not a whole lot of creativity. At one point, watching the dunk contest Saturday night, this most recent one, when they panned through the crowd after McClung dunked and Trey had to come, I saw some little confusion and a little like, whoa, stun on Trey Murphy's face. Yeah, let's see. Charles says the All-Star game is about the stars, and they don't participate in the dunk contest. Yeah, that's true. That's true now. Like I said, but back when we, Charles, Jen, when we came up on the dunk contest, when it was a dunk contest, there wasn't no 2 or 3 attempts. You got up there, you either dunked and missed, or you dunked and you got scored. But again, yeah, it's like I said, you saw the score. Jen, the score was 184 Sunday, 184 to 175. I know nobody played no defense. And like I said, the tribute to Kobe, they named the MVP trophy after him, which I think is great. They added the Elam ending because I think the NBA also knew that things were falling off. So this is why they try to change some things every year. I think that's part of the reason why they did the draft live and right before the game this year. When I look back, now that you brought that up, Jen, when I talk about the All-Star game again, I go back and I think Friday, the celebrity game, I used to know a lot of the celebrities in the game. Like, you would know. Like, I think I knew Janelle Monáe, 21 Savage, DK Metcalf. I think that's about the only one that I knew. Like, I know Dwayne Wade was one coach. I don't even know who the other coach of the team, second team. I don't even know who that was. Stars don't usually miss. That's why the NBA should try really hard to get them to participate. Yeah, they've been trying it. They were talking all day yesterday trying to get Ja. I think they need to Ja in there. I think Anthony Edwards should be in it. I know Aaron Gordon has that sour taste in his mouth. You may have to try and bring him back. You may have to try and bring Zach LaVine back. But it's going to be tough. I think they're going to gauge their ratings on what happened this year, and I think the dunk contest will be back next year because the dunk contest ratings are going to be crazy this year just because of the show that Mac McClung put on and not even being an NBA player and doing what he did to the internet. He's going to... Oh, okay, thanks. I still don't know. Like I said, don't know who he was. Ryan Smith or something like that? Yeah. Don't know who he was. But again, like I said, Jen, he also with the rosters, you usually know people on the rosters. I mean, like I said, I think I knew 3 names on the celebrity rosters this year, and that's 3 names between both the teams. But then again, it might have been 5. I got to look at the rosters again. I think it might have been 5 or 6, but it wasn't a lot. You know, I could probably count them all on one hand and maybe one finger on the next hand. So it is what it is. But again, you know, they're trying to revamp some stuff. They're trying to add some things in to pull the fans back in. But you've got to do something, I think, with the actual game on Sunday, where these guys got to play a little bit of defense. Like their score yesterday was just ridiculous, you know. And I know these dudes made shots, but he's the best players in the world. You can't give them too many uncontested shots because they're gonna make a lot of them. And we saw that last night. Hence the score. So get it back to what I was going to get into. This Kevin Durant. We all know the situation with Brooklyn. I've talked about it several times. They now have. I'm laughing, I'm chuckling a little bit because he is an all-star, so I got to give credit where credit due. He has been a past all-star. They got one all-star. Unfortunately, that all-star has not performed like an all-star since he was an all-star. But nonetheless, trade for Kyrie Irving, you know, we saw that, went through that close to the trade deadline. And then, like I said, when I got the news of the Kevin Durant trade, which happened allegedly at like 1:15 in the morning, I woke up to alerts on my phone and I was thinking that I was being punked. But in essence, I wasn't. It was a trade. So what I also, in the midst of all that, when the Kyrie Irving trade happened, yep, sure, no doubt, Hobby. Thanks for tuning in. As always, you know, we'll catch up definitely. Again, I talked about that. I mentioned some things in that situation when the Kyrie Irving trade happened. I also mentioned immediately how soon would it be, or even if it would be, a request for a trade coming from Kevin Durant. Injured as well, still rehabbing, but we didn't know what was going to happen. And then ultimately, like I said, a very late night, early morning trade happened, and he was moved to Phoenix. Still continuing with the super team thing, and it's just crazy. Like, I don't think that Phoenix is there yet, because now you're making your run. You got Devin Booker, KD now, and you got rid of some young talent, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, and you bring in Kevin Durant, who's already injured now, and you talk about Chris Paul, and you know, I was happy for Chris Paul when he made the finals. But then again, he got hurt, and I said that's like his omen for some reason. It's like every year when he makes a deep run, at some point he gets injured, and you can arguably say the same thing about KD. At some point for the last couple years, at some point in the season, he gets hurt and misses some time. So you got 2 legit stars that one is already out, and the other one will, arguably, if everything goes the way it normally goes, will possibly miss some time. I'm hoping he doesn't, but it's possible because of their past history and how things go with those particular players. So Kevin Durant is now there, and you got one ball. How do these 2 guys get a shot? A lot of people have already said that they have made a shift in the West, but you can't just immediately write off the teams that have been there prior to this trade. Denver. You can't just write these teams out like, all right, they got KD, these teams have been playing. You can't just push them right out the way and jump. You saw what happened when you did that in the East when they tried the super team. First it was Kyrie and KD, and then they brought in Harden. And you look, none of them are there. I mean, none of them are there, actually. The big 3 that were supposed to be there, none of them are there now. Not one of them. James Harden first, who saw what he saw. It was then Kyrie Irving, who went through his stuff, and now he's gone. And then Kevin Durant is now gone. So I'm going to give you a little bit of what Kevin Durant opened up about and what he said were some of the reasons for his decision. And I quote, it was a lot of ups and downs, but I love the grind. Everybody in Brooklyn loved the grind too. So I built a family over there. They're going to always be part of my journey. We didn't accomplish what we wanted to accomplish as far as winning a championship, but I enjoyed the grind. Everybody there, we tried our hardest every day, regardless of what was going on in the media or what was going on with our teammates. Yeah, Jen, that's what I said. But, they pegging them as a super team because of the names. But them dudes are done. Like I just said, KD is already hurt. Chris Paul is probably going to get hurt. And Devin Booker has just been hurt. So, it is what it is. I mean, we'll see what happens. KD also goes on to says he gets emotional talking about them because that was a special 4 years in his career coming off an Achilles injury. This is when he first got there. He's been hurt, I believe, every year that he was there. So that's 4 seasons. At some point he married. And then actually you can take out the first season he got there because he pretty much missed that entire season. Like he said, he was coming off that Achilles injury. So the last 3 seasons he's been hurt every season. He said they helped him through a lot, so he doesn't have anything bad to say. He also goes on and he says Kyrie Irving being traded was a huge reason he decided to leave the quote-unquote super team he once tried to build. Irving leaving, he says, took away the team's identity. He also goes on to say, quote, I was upset that we couldn't finish. I thought we had some good momentum. Frank, IG, thanks for tuning in. He said, we were finally building a culture that we always wanted. I felt like every game we were building our chemistry, but I didn't know what was going on with Kyrie and the situation with the organization. So I didn't really focus on that. He only focused on what we were doing on the court, and it was a blow to our team. It just took away our identity. He was a huge part of what we do. His game, he's a Hall of Famer, a great player that can do everything on the floor, and we relied on that. So without him, we didn't have a clear identity. That was tough for me to stomach. So, I know when some other people get wind of that, I can just hear what some people are going to say. Some of those people are going to immediately say, oh, so you running now. Can't hold it down by yourself. Can't get it done by yourself, big dog. So you're going to go play with somebody else so you can get helped out and get there. I know that's what people are going to say. And in a lot of ways, for sakes of conversation and debate, he opened that door by leaving OKC and going and signing with the Golden State Warriors when he did. He opened that door. I'm just going to leave that there. Like I said, he opened that door. So I can see that and I can hear some of that conversation coming up real soon once people get wind of that article there. So again, he said they didn't have any identity without Kyrie Irving. So it shows you, like, I like Kyrie. I love Kyrie's game. I love what he can do on the floor. But I've also said one of the things I think about Kyrie, and this doesn't change my real opinions about it, it's just what I think. Because I ultimately think that he is a good person, a solid good person. And some people may understand where I'm going, some people may not when I say what I say, but I feel like he's a good person. Like I said, he's done some amazing things outside of basketball, paying for funerals for families, donating money, even donating money to his sisters in the WNBA when they were struggling a little bit. So I think he's a genuinely good person. Very smart, very intelligent person, I think, as well. Nate, thanks for tuning in. So I also think, like I said, I think he's a really good person, a good, solid person, like I said. But I've also said that he also, in my opinion, fits into that mold where, and it is somewhat stereotypical. I'll admit that, but it fits in a lot of ways where it's often said that a lot of people or a lot of persons that are really, really smart or intelligent are also in some ways, or let me say it this way, people that are super smart, highly intelligent, often a lot of times come off like they are weird with some of the other things that they do. And that's somewhat how I feel about Kyrie Irving. Because like I just said, I feel like he's a smart, intelligent person, great basketball player. I feel like he's a solid, genuine individual dude. Good dude. I believe that from everything that I've read, everything I've seen. But also some of the other stuff that I've seen puts me on that boat too, where I say very intelligent, high basketball IQ, but some of the things that he does outside of basketball just strike me as a little odd. And I think, again, like I said, that's a stereotypical thing, I'll admit it, but it's often said about a lot of people that are genuinely highly intelligent or very smart. They just seem to be weird, or they do weird things. And I think Kyrie fits in that mold. This is just my outlook on him. So, but it's tough. But I mean, as far as basketball, take him on my team any day. Any day of the week, take him on my team because of what he can do on the court. But you know, it is what it is. And now you look at the Brooklyn Nets, and there's almost nothing there. You know, they got some good young prospects back, and like I said, in that deal, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges. On the initial trade, when they finally showed up or showing on the bench, Cam Johnson looked confused and heartbroken because he felt like he had a good thing, especially in Phoenix, after coming off of a finals run and being a big part of that finals run. Then they played a game. They showed out because I think they were just eager, anxious to play and show what they could do. But in a deep run, the leadership, in my opinion, is not there as far as on the court. I like Jacque Vaughn as a coach, but again, he can only do so much. Once these players get on the court, it's a different type of leadership, and I think their youth now will kind of hurt them as far as in that leadership. Somebody will have to try and find a way. I'm guessing this is Nate Phillips, and just chiming in, he's asking me what's my opinion on Russell going to the Clippers. Well, I figured that he would take a buyout or try to work a buyout from the Jazz. I knew he wouldn't stay there. Him going to the Clippers. Wow. My thoughts on that are kind of mixed. I don't know how it's going to fit. I mean, I know they have moved Reggie Jackson. They still have PG-13 and Kawhi. I don't know. I honestly don't know how it could work. I'm just thinking of how he fits into what I've seen from the Clippers and just visioning in my head going through their roster and the coaching staff. I think it's going to be a difficult fit again. I don't think it'll be as bad as the fit with him and the Lakers, but I think that it's going to be tough because is he going to be willing to be more of a facilitator than a scorer? And because their two primary scorers are still there. Their primary scorers are Kawhi and Paul George. And I'm not saying that he can't score, but I'm saying that there may come stretches in games, or there may come entire games, for the most part, where he may likely have to be more of a facilitator than a scorer. And again, I'm not saying that he won't score the balls. He's going to score. He's a great scorer. I'm just saying that he may have to focus on facilitating more than he does his scoring. And I'm wondering how that's going to fit, how he's going to adapt to that. So, yeah, that's my take on that. I think that was Nate that asked me that. So that's my take on that, Nate. But like I said, getting back to the Nets and their situation, like they have an all-star there. I won't say he's a superstar, and I only say he's an all-star because he has been an all-star during his time with the Philadelphia 76ers. Hasn't been an all-star since. So the going back to when all of this Big Ben Simmons stuff started, we go back to that playoff game against the Hawks. Yeah, I figured it was you, Nate. I hope you got me. I hope I was okay. I hope you was okay with the hands. If you need any more clarification, just let me know. We go back to that Hawks game, and we know the play. I'm not going to describe the play. We know the play. From that very moment, before he even got into all the trade talk and can't play here and all of that, because at the time he was here, I liked him as a player. I liked a lot of the things that he did on the court. But I also said at that time, okay, thanks, Nate. I also said at that time, I hope that this particular play, this fiasco, does not begin to or define the rest of his career. In hindsight, it has played a role, because following that, we realized that he was broken. And then we got into all the situation where the off season and he wanted to be traded. And for me, it was really childish, because it kind of started from a press conference with Doc Rivers at the time. The first time he coached Ben Simmons, was asked if he felt Ben Simmons could be a point guard to lead them to a championship. In my opinion, Doc said nothing wrong. I felt like it was a sincere coach's answer. This is my first year coaching the kid. This is what he's thinking. I'm guessing. This is what he's thinking. And he just basically said, listen, I don't know yet. And Ben took that to heart. That's when I knew he was broken. And he hasn't been the same since. We all understand. We never understood. All we wanted here in Philadelphia, as Philadelphia fans, media members, and whatever, we just wanted him to improve and get better. We saw it in Joel Embiid. We got the trade for James Harden. We got what we got last year, half a season, and we see the difference this year. Okay, so again, like, it's not he got better. He just put in the time. I'm speaking of Harden now. He put in the dedication and the time, and he worked on it, and he's given us a lot more than what he gave us last year in that half a season. Ben Simmons has not done that his entire career. He's not gotten better in any year. Even the years that he's played, he hasn't gotten better from year to year. So now he's the lone all-star, if you will, on the Nets. Or you can allegedly say star. They've got some emerging stars, yes, but he's not the guy that you're going to build the team around. And Jock Vaughn is beginning to see that. And there's some things in that article that I'm also going to touch on about what Jock Vaughn had to say about him as well. So the article that I'm saying, and this is one of the things that I mentioned also in this whole thing, where I said that it's sad to say that it's very possible that once this season is over, this season could possibly be, or very shortly, this season, next season, you could very shortly see a disappearance of Ben Simmons. He has no trade value, so they can't trade him. So in essence, they're kind of stuck with him. He's hurt again, or he's complaining that he's hurt. He's not playing. So we backtrack, and we talk about what I just mentioned to you about how Jack Vaughn feels about his one All-Star. There was a game in the loss to the Knicks where Simmons only played 12 minutes. And I understand the jostling of the lineups and all of that jazz. And this is what Jack Vaughn had to say about that, and I quote, it's going to be some work that we have to do, because you just take a look at what lineups could potentially look like. You put another big next to Ben, then you got to figure out what the spacing is around him. Then if you put another playmaker next to him, then you got to figure out what Ben looks like without the basketball. Then if you go small with Ben, then you have to figure out how you can rebound enough with him. So there's a lot of issues there. Quite a bit of issues there in that right, if you will. It's a stretch. Like, and then the writer of the artist, like, says that's so damning. That's basically an indictment, he basically says. So he said the only scenario in which Simmons gets playing time is if he has the ball in his hands the entire time. Like I said, you can't really put him in the dunker spot because you got the uncertainty if he's going to dunk it. Because if the fear of being fouled comes into play, he's going to look to get rid of the ball because he doesn't want to shoot free throws. So they say Simmons has 2 years and $78 million left on his deal. No trade suitors until he's an expiring contract. Even then, he said I could see an organization acquiring Simmons and telling him to stay away because he's sunk cost. So, like I said, it's somewhat amazing to see. But then again, it all goes back to what my partner brought up way back when he was being drafted. Shout out to my partner, Baldy. And you can go and you can search, you can research, you can find it. His pre-draft profile, and I brought it up several times on the show. And it's really coming full circle now that we see it. You got a guy who's 6'10", athletic, just won't or just doesn't have the true dedication and the love to be as successful as he could be. A few times when we've discussed Ben Simmons and all of this mess, I've been one to say that I felt like if he had worked on his game, he could arguably be basically or very similar to what Giannis is right now. I say the difference with them two is Giannis ain't scared to shoot the ball. Giannis ain't scared to get to the foul line. Giannis to get up there and brick 2 free throws and come back and go right back to the basket, try and dunk on you, and come back if you foul him and shoot another one or shoot 2 more if he misses. With no issue. This other dude, he just won't do it. He looks for opportunities to take himself out of those positions. And it's a shame, like I said, because he has some talent. There's a lot of talent. It's kind of like the talent is now a waste. It's even gotten to the point where I got a friend, high school teammate of mine, that lives in Australia. And he constantly tells me, yo, dude, he can't come back here either. So he better go to LA and find his niche or something and stay there, because there's they're like almost to the point where it's embarrassing, or it would be embarrassing to have him come back. And I mean, I'm getting this from a person that lives in Australia firsthand. So, it is what it is, and we'll see what happens, man. And take a second break. When I come back, I'm going to talk some Eagles talk. Some off-season stuff some moves have been made, and I'm going to jump into that Eric Bieniemy situation a little bit as well. Folks, you are tuned in to Sports Rap right here on Heat 100 Radio. It's your boy, SportsRap D, signing out for a second. I'll be right back with y'all in a couple minutes. And welcome everybody back to final leg of today's show. So we're gonna talk a little bit of Eagles real quick. But before we get into the Eagles thing, because the Eagles thing I think is gonna be real quick. Just some stuff that has transpired. Some things that we knew were going to be in play at this time of the year, and they've already started on some things. So I just wanted to give you some updates on some things that I saw that they started and how things are going. The biggest thing I wanted to get to before we get into that, and I talked about it, I posted it when I saw it, and I was confused, actually from the gate. We all know the reports now, the deal is finalized. Eric Bieniemy has signed a deal. I'm not sure how many years it is, but whatever. Signed on to the Washington Commanders, a dysfunctional team on so many levels, as their offensive coordinator and assistant coach. So when I saw the interview, note for the interview, I was confused, and I'm saying to myself, like a lot of people that chimed in on the post when I posted it, but like, well, why would you do that? Like, you in essence, it feels like you're just making a lateral position. You just won the Super Bowl. Why would you go to a team that didn't even make the playoffs? And then you go into the same role to a team that doesn't even have a solidified quarterback as of yet, if you will. You also go in this situation as the offensive coordinator, and this is what you were doing. But then as my guys, Chuck Bolger and some other people, Richard, some other people chimed in, and they gave me some more information. And as I also saw some more information, and I felt like that him taking that job, there had to be something else in play that wasn't being told immediately. Still hasn't fully been detailed yet, but what the going conversation is that he's there. He's going to have the opportunity to call plays. Obviously, he didn't call plays. He was the offensive coordinator in KC, but he did not call plays, which I thought was a little weird, a little strange anyway. But nonetheless, that was the knock. He didn't call the plays. So the understanding and the dialogue is, and you can even stretch and say somewhat of the narrative going in right now is, he's going to be the offensive coordinator and he's going to be allowed to call plays and they want to see how he does in that right, and or if Ron Rivera doesn't do anything to their liking, they'll bump him up to assistant coach. Hell of a road if that happens. It would be a hell of a road for him to get to a head coaching job, when a lot of us feel like he should have been interviewed for head coaching jobs. And now we look back and we just also can say hindsight is 2020. A lot of those interviews that he had before were just that. They were just interviews, and they were just because of that rule or whatever that they put in, where teams have to interview or a certain amount of African American or minority clients for certain positions. So we can look at that more and more and say, yeah, a lot of those teams interviewed him just because they had to. Had no intentions on doing it, just because they had to. And then it was kind of like they used him as like the name. So it was like, oh, well, we interviewed him, big name, but just decided to go another way. So we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, I'm still confused. Like I said, I understand the dialogue behind it. And like I said, you can easily stretch and say the narrative be going in behind it right now and what I just said. But again, like I said, it's just a hell of a way for this man to take the road to the head coaching position, if it even comes to that. And his name came up immediately in the offseason, not because they won, but because of the simple fact that the Eagles were his opponent in the Super Bowl. And because of the success that they had throughout the year up until the Super Bowl, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, hired almost immediately after that. So, like, within that same week, the Super Bowl was a Sunday. By, like, Wednesday, both of those guys were hired as head coaches. So it makes you wonder and scratch your head in a lot of ways as well. But these are some of the things that I talked about that I said were things that were going to change. I knew this was going to happen. So the going rumor is that Brian Johnson, the current quarterbacks coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, will get elevated to offensive coordinator. Then there's the detail of bringing in the defensive coordinator. Some names on the list. And, of course, people threw names out on social media. Like I saw people threw Rex Ryan's name out, but Rex Ryan interviewed with the Broncos, and he also stated that he's not going to leave the network where he's at now unless it's the ideal right situation. It has to be the right situation for him to move. That's what he said. So on the defensive coordinator side, some of the names that have been suggested, floated around, as we see for the Eagles. Denard Wilson, the current defensive passing game coordinator and the D-back coach. Tracy Rocker, the defensive line coach. Gerard Mayo, the Patriots linebackers coach. This is a name that I heard from the very beginning, and I think this is still a possibility. Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals. John Pagano, the former linebacker coach of the Broncos. Excuse my voice. Nick Rallis, the Eagles linebackers coach. Dave Borgonzi, the Bears linebacker coach. Eric Washington, the Bills defensive line coach. Peter Hansen, the Panthers defensive line coach. Chris Richard, I think he's in-house with the Eagles. I don't know what his title is. And Sean Desai, a Seahawks assistant. Also, a name that's on the list that has emerged late that I thought should have been in there early, Lovie Smith as well. I like the Lovie Smith. I like the Vance Joseph. The other names, I can see them giving interviews. But, I mean, if you can snatch up a Vance Joseph or a Lovie Smith, I say you do that. They thought they had something in place with Fangio, but something changed and he took the job down in Miami to be their defensive coordinator after he was with the Eagles for the 2 weeks prior to the Super Bowl. So I think a lot of people saw the post that I put up where Howie informed Jonathan Gann that he wasn't coming back with the team. He was staying to interview for that job. So I think Howie had something up his sleeve. I think Howie had some ideas at that moment when he emerged as a name that they were going to be requesting interviews for. So I think Howie, I don't want to risk it and say he has something in place already, but I feel like he's on to something. He's got something brewing. He's got something. I feel like he's got something up his sleeve to handle that. So, and like I said, that's going to change. So the offense is going to have a new look. Defense is going to have a new look. And then there's also the issue of how he working his magic with the numbers. There's a lot of things that need to be done to keep some players that a lot of the fans feel like or would love for them to keep. But I got to tell you, with the success of the team, with the success that this team had this year, they already lost to their coordinators on both sides of the ball. So there's going to be a chance that you could possibly lose some key players for you this year. It's possible unless Howie does some super magic. I know Howie's going to do some magic, but there still may be a chance that you may lose a couple of pieces. Looking at the Eagles' opponents coming up next season for the home games, we've got the 3 division rivals, the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Commanders. We've got Arizona coming in, so we face Jonathan Gannon in our backyard. San Fran again. And again, we'll see with San Fran. Hopefully they help. We don't know what date they play, but hopefully they'll have Brock Purdy, who they apparently are going with right now as their guy. But again, like I said to Frank, defensive coordinator left, so the defense is going to look different. So we'll see how that game plays out because our offense and defense is going to look different. So we'll see how that game plays out. And you got to come here. We got Buffalo here as well. Miami, we can get off against Fangio here. And then we got Minnesota again here. The away games, of course, the 3 in the division. We know that. And we got the Rams, Seahawks, the Patriots, the Jets, the Bucks, and we go to the Chiefs on the road. I'm not ready to say how many wins and whatever just because I see the opponents. I got to wait until some roster moves are made, other moves are made, and we get closer to training camp. And then I'll start to begin to think about what I like and what I see as far as some wins and losses. Touting my guy as well. I never, more times than not, I tend to disagree with Colin Cowherd. So this is Colin Cowherd's top 10 list of quarterbacks in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, and Jared Goff. I understand kind of sort of football-wise where he might be going with Lawrence as far as Lawrence being that quote-unquote prototypical quarterback. Got Doug Peterson, quarterback coach, did some good things for him. Had a great season. Didn't make the Super Bowl, but things that Jalen Hurts did, I would put Jalen Hurts above him, and I wouldn't put Trevor Lance at number 3. I like Justin Herbert. I think Josh Allen may be above the 2 of them as well. So, I mean, that list could go a lot of different ways. And like I said, I'm not totally in agreement with it. I just wanted to bring it to your attention and let you know where I stand and what was out there as far as information since the season has ended. Folks, it's been a great Monday. Great little run today. Had some great dialogue. Shout outs to everybody that tuned in. Lowell Rich, Nate Phillips Williams on Facebook. Also my folks Deanna, EA Fish, Gindraw1, and Doc Howie on Instagram. Thank you all for tuning in as well. Like I always say, you know where to find me each and every Monday right here in studio, heat100radio.com. Tune in, Heat100 Radio. Instagram at SportsRap_D. Also on Twitter at SportsRap_D. Facebook, SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page. You can get me on the web, SportsRapRadio.com. You can also check their YouTube channel. Like I said, these videos will go up later this week. But I need y'all to get over to their YouTube channel. Subscribe to that channel, y'all. SportsRap TV. You know who it is. You know it's me. You know when you see me. Get over there. Subscribe to that channel. Like the videos that you like. Hit the bell so you know when new content goes up. And then tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to do the same. Also, later this week, you can get this audio if you missed it today. iHeart, Google, Spreaker, Anchor, Apple Podcasts. Well, on most of your podcast outlets. Folks, like I always say, it's going to be a nice day. A little cloudy, but it's going to, temperature-wise, it's going to be pretty nice. So get out. I know a lot of you are off today, so get out and enjoy some of it. We're going to have a pretty good week as far as weather-wise. Weather changes back to a little chilly on Saturday. So enjoy what you can, especially today, since I know a lot of you are off. Be great on purpose. See you all week on social media. Right back here on Monday. Thanks, everybody that tuned in. Appreciate y'all. See y'all soon.